My brother chose my parents' approval over me, and that decision destroyed our relationship forever. I don't even know how to organize all of this in my head, so I'm just going to type and hope it makes sense. I've been sitting on this for weeks because every time I try to talk about it with anyone, they look at me like I'm being dramatic, paranoid, or jealous. And honestly, maybe I am all of those things, but that doesn't mean I'm wrong. So, Ava was my best friend. Was. I need to say that first because people keep acting like I'm some controlling older sister who hated every girl that looked at my brother, and that's not what this is. Ava and I met in a spin class about 5 years ago. I was 23. She was 24. We clicked immediately. She was funny, spontaneous, always down for anything. We did everything together. Sunday brunches, gym partners. She came to my family's Thanksgiving twice. She was at my parents' anniversary party. She knew everyone in my life, including my little brother, Noah. Noah is 5 years younger than me. When Ava and I became friends, he was 18 and had just graduated high school. He was shy, kind of awkward. He spent most of his time playing video games and hanging out with the same two friends he'd known forever. He'd never had a girlfriend. He barely talked to girls. My parents used to joke that he was going to be a late bloomer, and we all just accepted that Noah was Noah, and he'd figure things out eventually. I need you to understand who my brother was before I explain what happened. He was sweet. Like genuinely sweet in a way that's rare. The kind of guy who would drive 40 minutes to bring me soup when I was sick, who remembered everyone's birthdays without Facebook reminders, who cried at animal rescue videos. He trusted people completely because he'd never been given a reason not to. Ava was at my parents' house constantly because she was at my house constantly. I still lived with my parents during my first year after college. She'd be over for dinner, movie nights, random hangouts. She was practically family. And I remember thinking it was cute when Noah got nervous around her. Of course he did. She was pretty, older, confident. He was 18 and awkward. What I didn't notice, what I completely missed, was that she was noticing him back. And not in a he's sweet like a little brother way. I should explain something about Ava that I only understood later. She was 24 when we met, and she'd just gotten out of a 2-year relationship with a guy her age. She told me he dumped her because she was too controlling. She framed it like he couldn't handle a strong woman. I see it differently now. She also wasn't doing great career-wise. She bounced between part-time jobs. She complained constantly about how nobody appreciated her. She had this constant need to feel important, to feel like she was the center of someone's world. Guys her age weren't giving her that. They had their own lives, ambitions, and opinions. But Noah was an 18-year-old boy who looked at her like she was the most fascinating person he'd ever met. He hung on her every word. He had no frame of reference for what a normal relationship looked like. He was perfect for her. The first time something felt off was about 3 months after Noah turned 18. I came home early one day, and Ava's car was in the driveway. That wasn't weird by itself, except my parents were out, and I was supposed to be at work. I walked in, and they were sitting on the couch together, watching something on Noah's laptop. They both jumped when I came through the door, like actually startled. Ava laughed it off and said she was just waiting for me, and Noah happened to be home, so they were killing time. I believed her. Then there were other things. She started asking about Noah more. What was he up to? Was he dating anyone? Did he have plans this weekend? She made comments about how he was getting tall, getting handsome, filling out. I laughed it off because she was 24. He was barely legal, and she was my best friend. 2 months later, Noah told my parents he had a girlfriend, but he wasn't ready to introduce her yet. My mom was thrilled. My dad made jokes about it being a girl from one of his video games. I was happy for him. He seemed genuinely excited for the first time in forever. He smiled more, left the house more, actually cared about how he looked. I found out who it was 4 months later. I found out because I walked into Ava's apartment unannounced, and my teenage brother was in her bed. I can't describe what it felt like standing in her doorway, looking at my brother tangled in sheets with my 24-year-old best friend. Ava didn't look embarrassed. She looked annoyed. Noah looked terrified. I left. I got in my car and drove around for 2 hours because I couldn't process what I'd seen. Then I called her, and I lost it. I told her she was disgusting, that he was a kid, that she'd known him since he was in high school, that she'd come to his graduation party. She let me yell. When I was done, she said something I'll never forget. She told me I didn't understand love. She said age was just a number. She said Noah was more of a man than anyone she'd ever been with. She told me I didn't understand love. She said age was just a number. She said Noah was more of a man than anyone she'd ever been with. She said he made her feel special, that he listened to her, that he appreciated her, that he didn't try to change her or tell her she was too much. She said guys her age were selfish and immature. She said Noah treated her like a queen. I told her she was supposed to be mature enough to know this was wrong. I told her that being older meant having responsibility, not excuses. I told her that he was barely an adult and she had watched him grow up in front of her. She laughed. She told me I was just jealous that my little brother had found happiness before I did. That was when I hung up on her. I went straight to my parents' house that night and told them everything. My mom went pale. Not dramatic pale. Just all the color drained out of her face like someone had turned off a light. My dad looked like he might throw up. They confronted Noah immediately. He kept saying we didn't understand, that Ava was different, that she actually saw him as a person when everyone else treated him like a kid. He said she made him feel important. That was the moment it clicked for me. She had made herself his entire source of validation. She positioned herself as the only person who truly understood him, while slowly convincing him that his own family didn't. My parents tried to talk sense into him for weeks. They talked about the age gap, the power imbalance, the fact that Ava had been hanging around our house long before anything official started. Every time they pushed, Noah dug in deeper. He said they were being controlling. He said they didn't want him to be happy. He said they'd always treated him like a baby, and Ava was the first person who saw him as an adult. 3 months later, Ava announced she was pregnant. My mom didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just sat down on the kitchen floor and didn't move for 10 minutes. My dad started pacing. Noah stood there looking terrified and weirdly proud, like he had accomplished something. I found out later that Ava had told Noah she was on birth control. She wasn't. After she got pregnant, she told him it must have failed. I don't believe that for a second. She saw my family pushing back. She saw the possibility of losing her grip on him. So she locked it down permanently. A baby meant he couldn't walk away. A baby meant she'd always be in his life. Ava came over to explain herself. She showed up sweet, calm, apologetic. She said she knew this wasn't how anyone wanted things to happen. She said she understood our concerns. She said she loved Noah more than anything and was going to be the best mother and partner. She said we'd all look back on this and laugh someday. My mom actually started to soften. Then my dad made a mistake. He suggested that maybe Noah should wait before making any permanent decisions, that maybe he should take time to think about whether this was really what he wanted at 19. He said maybe they should explore options. Ava's face changed instantly. The sweetness dropped completely. She looked at my dad and said, very calmly, that if we tried to convince Noah to abandon her or the baby, she would tell everyone that Noah had forced himself on her. She said she had text messages she could edit, photos that could be misinterpreted. She said everyone would believe a crying pregnant woman over a teenage boy nobody took seriously. She said it like she was reading a grocery list. My dad tried to call her bluff. She pulled out her phone and showed him a draft email to the local police department. It was detailed, convincing, full of real dates and times, but completely fabricated contexts. She told him to imagine what that would do to Noah's life, his future, his reputation. She said she wasn't asking for anything except that we stay out of her relationship. If we accepted her, if we treated her like family, if we stopped trying to convince Noah she was wrong for him, she said she'd delete everything and we could move forward. My parents looked at Noah, expecting him to finally see what she was, but he didn't. He said Ava had already told him about the insurance policy. He actually used that word, insurance policy. He said she knew we might react badly and needed to protect herself. He said he trusted her not to use it unless she had to. He said we were forcing her hand. That's when I knew we'd lost him. I knew we'd lost. After that night, nothing was the same. My parents tried to keep contact normal, like if they didn't panic, maybe this would somehow fix itself. But Ava made sure it didn't. 3 months after the baby was born, Noah moved in with her. 6 months later, they got married at the courthouse. None of us were invited. We found out through Facebook. My mom cried for days. My dad went completely quiet, like if he didn't acknowledge it, it wouldn't be real. From that point on, Noah stopped showing up to family dinners. He stopped answering calls unless Ava was with him. When he did come by, he barely spoke. And when he did, he kept looking at Ava first, like he needed permission. Ava quit the part-time job she'd had and stayed home with the baby, Lily. Noah worked constantly to support them. She controlled all the money. She said Noah wasn't good with finances. That was a lie. Noah had always been careful with money. He'd saved up for his first car himself. He tracked expenses in spreadsheets. But Ava convinced him he couldn't be trusted. She made all the decisions, where they lived, what they bought, who they saw. Noah just went along with it because that was easier than fighting. Lily is 3 now. Every visit is supervised. If my mom tries to take Lily into another room, Ava suddenly needs to change her diaper. If my dad tries to have a private conversation with Noah, Ava appears out of nowhere with something urgent. We never get him alone. About 6 months ago, I tried a different approach. I texted Noah and asked if he wanted to get lunch. Just us, like we used to when he was in high school. He said yes, then he canceled. Something came up with Lily. I tried again the next week. Same thing, I tried 4 more times over the next month. Every single time he canceled within hours of when we were supposed to meet. The 5th time, I decided to go anyway. I sat in that restaurant for an hour, hoping he might still show up. He didn't. 40 minutes in, I got a text from him. Sorry, can't make it. Ava needs me home. Immediately after, I got another text. Same phone, different tone. Please stop harassing my husband. He doesn't want to see you. I saved both messages. I started a folder on my phone, not for legal reasons. I just needed proof that I wasn't imagining this. My parents eventually gave up on direct contact. They sent birthday cards, Christmas presents. They got polite thank you texts that definitely sounded like Ava wrote them. My mom cried constantly. My dad stopped talking about Noah altogether. Like, maybe if he ignored it, it would go away. Then last week, my mom got a text from Ava. She announced she was pregnant again. 2nd baby, due in 6 months. The message included what my mom called an invitation. I called it a ransom demand. Ava said she'd been thinking about family and forgiveness. She said she wanted to give us a chance to be part of her children's lives. All we had to do was apologize. Apologize for interfering, for not trusting her, for making her feel unwelcome. She wanted a formal apology from both of my parents, in front of Noah. Only then would she allow regular access to Lily and the new baby. My mom actually considered it. She said sometimes you have to swallow your pride for family. I told her apologizing would mean telling Noah we were wrong all along, that it would validate everything Ava had done, that it would give her even more power. My mom just looked at me and said she didn't know what else to do. Neither did I. I felt like we were negotiating surrender. By the time winter arrived, I barely recognized my own life. The house felt quieter every day, not peaceful, just hollow. Conversations stopped when I entered a room. My parents spoke to me only when necessary, their words clipped and careful, like I might break if they pushed too hard, or worse, like I was already broken. My brother, Arjun, was different, at least at first. He used to knock on my door late at night, sit on the edge of my bed and whisper, just keep your head down, let this pass. He didn't defend me openly, but he stayed close. That mattered to me more than he knew. Then the marriage proposal came. They didn't ask me what I wanted. They informed me. The man's name was Rohit. He lived 2 cities away, worked in finance, and had a family my parents approved of. They said he was stable, respectable, and exactly what I needed right now. Right now, meaning after everything I had ruined. When I hesitated, my mother said, people are starting to talk. This will fix things. Fix. Like I was a problem. Arjun avoided my eyes that evening. I waited for him to say something, anything, but he just stared at his phone and stayed silent. That silence hurt more than my parents' words ever had. The engagement happened fast. Too fast. I smiled in photos while my chest felt tight and empty. Everyone kept saying how lucky I was, how this was a fresh start. But fresh starts shouldn't feel like funerals. After the wedding, I moved away. New city, new house, new rules. Rohit wasn't cruel. That somehow made it worse. He was polite, distant, and uninterested in who I really was. We lived parallel lives under the same roof. He didn't ask about my past, and I learned not to talk about it. Calls home became shorter, then rarer. When I called Arjun, he sounded busy, distracted. He talked about work, investments, plans with our parents. He never asked how I was. When I finally told him I felt alone, he sighed and said, "You're married now. You'll adjust." That was the moment I realized I had already lost him. The last time we spoke properly was after a fight I had with Rohit. I called Arjun, crying, my voice shaking. He listened in silence and then said something that still echoes in my head. "You made your choices. Stop blaming everyone else." I didn't recognize the voice on the other end of the line. After that, he stopped calling, and I stopped trying. Months later, I heard about him through relatives. Promotions, praise, pride. He had become everything my parents wanted, and I had become the story they no longer told. I stood on the balcony of my new home one night, city lights flickering below, and realized something terrifying. I wasn't just isolated, I was erased. And the worst part? The person I missed the most wasn't my old life, it was my brother, the one I lost while he was still alive. It started with a phone call from my mother. Her voice was calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that always meant something was about to be demanded, not discussed. "You need to come home this weekend," she said. No excuses. I asked why. She didn't answer right away. "There's been a lot of tension in this family because of you," she finally said. "Your father's health is being affected." I felt that familiar weight settle in my chest. Guilt, served fresh, like it always was. When I reached my parents' house, nothing looked different. Same furniture, same walls, same silence pressing down on me the moment I stepped inside. Everyone was already there. My parents, relatives I hadn't seen in months, and Arjun. He didn't look at me when I walked in. They sat me down like it was an intervention. My mother spoke first, listing everything I had done wrong, every argument, every rumor, every moment I had embarrassed them. Then my father said the word they had brought me there for. Apologize. I blinked. To whom? My mother gestured toward Arjun. "He has suffered the most," she said. "Your behavior affected his reputation, his peace, his future. You owe him an apology. In front of everyone." I looked at my brother, the boy who used to protect me, the man who wouldn't meet my eyes. "What exactly am I apologizing for?" I asked quietly. "For creating drama," my father snapped. "For being difficult," my mother added. "For not thinking about the family," someone else said. The room felt smaller with every word. I realized then they didn't want understanding. They wanted submission. My hands were shaking, but I stood up. "I'm sorry," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me, "that none of you ever asked me what I needed. I'm sorry that keeping the peace mattered more than telling the truth. And I'm sorry that I lost my brother because silence was easier than standing up for me." The room exploded. My mother cried. My father shouted. Relatives murmured in shock. Arjun finally looked at me. His face was hard, unfamiliar. "This is exactly why we asked you here," he said. "You always turn things around and make yourself the victim?" Something in me broke then. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, like the last thread holding me to that family snapping. I picked up my bag and walked out. No one followed. No one stopped me. And for the first time in years, as painful as it was, I felt something close to freedom. Because I finally understood. They didn't want an apology. They wanted me to disappear. I didn't expect to hear from Arjun again. So when his name lit up my phone 3 months later, I just stared at the screen until it stopped ringing. My hands were cold. My heart was loud. I told myself not to call back. He texted instead, "We need to talk. In person. Not at home. I'll explain everything." I didn't reply for hours. Part of me wanted to delete the message and pretend it never happened. Another part, the part that still remembered who he used to be, needed answers. We agreed to meet at a storage facility on the edge of the city. Neutral ground, no parents, no relatives, no walls with ears. When I arrived, the place smelled like dust and metal. Long rows of gray doors stretched out like secrets no one wanted to claim. Arjun was already there, leaning against his car, arms crossed. He looked older, tired, smaller somehow. "Why here?" I asked. He didn't answer right away. He walked to one of the units, unlocked it, and pulled the door up. Inside were boxes, files, old laptops, documents stacked carefully, like evidence. "This," he said quietly, "is why I asked you to come." I stepped closer, confused. He picked up a folder and handed it to me. My name was written on the front. My stomach dropped. Inside were copies of emails, messages, legal papers, things I had never seen before. Conversations between my parents and people I didn't recognize. Agreements made without me. Decisions finalized while I was still being told to wait and trust them. "They planned everything," Arjun said. "Your marriage, the timing, even the apology." I looked at him, my chest burning. "You knew?" He nodded, slowly. I knew, he said, and I didn't stop it. The words sat between us like something dead. Why are you showing me this now? I asked. He ran a hand through his hair, pacing. Because they're turning on me next, he said. The business isn't doing well. They need someone to blame. And they're rewriting the story again. I laughed then, a sharp, broken sound. So now you want me to know the truth? Yes, he said. And I'm sorry. The apology came too late, and somehow it still hurt. I protected myself, he continued. I thought if I stayed quiet, I'd be safe. I thought you'd survive. You always did. I closed the folder and placed it back in the box. I didn't survive, I said softly. I adapted. Silence filled the unit. I don't need this, I added, gesturing to the files. I've already lost what mattered. He looked at me then, not with anger, not with pride, but with regret. What do you want from me? He asked. I thought about it, really thought. I want you to live with what you chose, I said, just like I had to. I walked out of the storage unit without taking a single document. Behind me, the metal door rolled down with a final, echoing slam. And in that sound, I knew something was over. Not just my relationship with my brother, but the last illusion that he would ever save me. The invitation arrived a month later, cream-colored envelope. My name written in my mother's handwriting. No note, no explanation. Just a date, a time, and a place. My father's birthday. I told myself I wouldn't go. I even said it out loud, standing alone in my kitchen, like hearing my own voice might make it real. But something in me needed closure. Or maybe I just needed to see them one last time, without fear. The house was louder than I remembered. Laughter spilled from every room. Relatives filled the space like nothing had ever been wrong, like I hadn't walked out, like I hadn't been erased. When I stepped inside, conversations dipped, then resumed. My mother smiled at me from across the room, the practiced smile she used in front of others. She came over and kissed my cheek. I'm glad you came, she said softly, like we were fine. Arjun stood near the dining table, surrounded by uncles and cousins. Confident, comfortable, exactly where he belonged. He glanced at me once, then looked away. I stayed near the wall, nursing a glass of water. Watching, listening. That's when I heard it. My aunt was telling someone a story. My story. She was always sensitive, she said with a laugh. Too emotional. We tried our best, but you know how some girls are. Others nodded, smiled, agreed. Something settled inside me then. Not anger. Clarity. When the cake was brought out, my father made a speech. He talked about family, unity, sacrifice. He thanked Arjun for being a pillar during difficult times. He didn't look at me once. When he finished, people clapped. Someone urged me forward. Say something, they said. You're his daughter. The room turned toward me. For a moment, I almost stayed silent. Old habits die hard. Then I stepped forward. I just want to say, I began, my voice steady, that I hope everyone here understands how easy it is to rewrite a story when the person who lived it stays quiet. The room went still. I was told to apologize, to adjust, to disappear, for the sake of peace. And I did, for a long time. I looked at my parents, then at Arjun. But silence has a cost, I continued, and I paid it, alone. No one interrupted me. This isn't an attack, I said. It's a boundary. This is the last time I'll stand in a room where my pain is treated like an inconvenience. I placed the wrapped gift on the table. Happy birthday, I said. Then I walked out. This time, the door closing behind me didn't feel heavy. It felt final. And for the first time, I didn't look back. It was past midnight when the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. Rohit was away on a work trip, and I had already changed into old pajamas, the kind you wear when you don't plan on being seen. For a moment, I considered ignoring it. Then it rang again. When I opened the door, Arjun was standing there, alone. No parents, no relatives, no rehearsed speeches behind him. Just him, holding a small paper bag, looking like he hadn't slept in days. I know I shouldn't be here, he said before I could speak, but I didn't know where else to go. I stepped aside and let him in. We sat across from each other at the dining table. The silence between us felt different this time. Not heavy, just honest. I messed up, he said finally. I thought if I played their game, I'd win. But there's no winning with them. I didn't respond. I'd learned that listening didn't mean agreeing. They've cut me off, Art, he continued. From the business, from decisions, from everything. I'm useful only when I obey. I watched his hands shake slightly as he spoke. They asked me to fix things with you, he added. Not because they miss you, because they think you're the problem that needs managing. That didn't surprise me. He pushed the paper bag toward me. Inside was an old photo album, one I thought had been thrown away years ago. Us as kids, laughing, protected, whole. I forgot who I was trying to protect, he said quietly. And in doing that, I lost you. I closed the album. I don't know what you want from me, I said. I'm not asking you to forgive me, he replied. I just needed you to know. I see it now. I believed him. And that somehow hurt more than if he hadn't changed at all. I can't be your refuge, I said gently. I spent too long being everyone's shelter. He nodded, slowly. I know, he said. I just wanted to say it, without an audience. We stood near the door. He hesitated, then said, I'm proud of you. It was everything I had wanted to hear, and everything I no longer needed. When the door closed behind him, I didn't cry. I went back to bed, turned off the light, and felt something unfamiliar settle in my chest. Peace. Not because things were fixed, but because they were finally finished. Life is quieter now, not the kind of quiet that feels empty, but the kind that lets you hear your own thoughts again. Mornings belong to me. Evenings don't feel heavy anymore. I've learned what peace actually sounds like when it isn't interrupted by guilt or expectations. I don't visit my parents' house. We exchange polite messages on festivals. Nothing more, nothing less. Arjun and I don't talk. There was no dramatic ending, no final argument, just distance that settled in naturally, like dust when no one disturbs a room. I wish him well from afar. That's the most honesty I can offer. Rohit and I still share a home. We are respectful, Careful. We've both accepted what our marriage is and what it isn't. I've stopped trying to make it something else. Strangely, that acceptance brought relief. The biggest change is inside me. I no longer explain myself to people who are committed to misunderstanding me. I no longer apologize for reacting to pain I didn't cause. And I no longer chase love that demands my silence as its price. Sometimes I think about the girl I used to be, the one who believed that being good meant being quiet, that endurance was the same as strength. She didn't know better. I do now. If there's one truth I carry forward, it's this. You can love people deeply and still walk away. You can honor family and still choose yourself. And you don't need permission to stop shrinking. This isn't a happy ending. It's something better. It's an honest one.